And you're live on PM Express here on the JoyNews channel. My name is Evans Mensah. Tonight it's a big conversation on a subject that affects every single individual in this country. You must know somebody who is affected by highway accidents. Either a relative, a friend, a loved one would have been affected. It is just an issue that will not go away. And tonight, some say it's simply a case of a failing system. Our leaders taking it for granted because they really aren't affected as much. And so community members are mobilizing to put pressure on the system to fix the roads and in the process reduce these accidents. We've seen in the last few months a tragic story told in statistics. January, September 2018, 10,051 crashes alone has been recorded. And if you look at the graphs here, it tells you a story of tragedy, a story of bloodshed, 16,281 vehicles involved. Out of that, we have 1,710 fatalities, people killed alone. I mean, it's almost as if these are figures you would normally see in war zones, right? 1,710 fatalities just between January and September alone this year. And we are not talking about a war zone. We are talking about a peaceful country, one of the most democratic countries in the world. In fact, if I'm not telling you about highway accidents, and I just showed you a figure that 1,700 people have been killed in Ghana this year alone, you might ask the odd question, what on earth is happening? It's because our roads are simply terrible. Now, injuries, 9,900 injuries. These are family members, these are children, and we'll be hearing a lot about what has been happening in a particular part of Accra where community members feel they've had enough, and so they're demanding action. And if you look at this, an average of 6 people die in road accidents every day in Ghana. And that is according to the MTTD. That is frightening. That is frightening. This is kind of statistics you see in places in the world where you call it a failed state. But Ghana is far from being a failed state. So why is this happening in a country like Ghana? Now let's talk about this. Now this area, the Medina Delta Highway, has brought this conversation into sharp focus. It has revived the conversation about the obvious story surrounding the fatalities that we've seen. These facts will shock you. There are 6 footbridges on this particular highway, the Medina Delta Highway. Now, fix these footbridges and you will save significant number of lives. How many exactly? We'll talk about shortly. But the problem with this is the 6 footbridges are yet to be complete. So what is happening? We are seeing a situation where several people are losing their lives. 192 have died on that stretch alone since January. If this doesn't shock you into action, I don't know what will. 192. Now, these 2 happened just yesterday. Just yesterday, 2 people were knocked down. I don't know about today. We have a member of the community advocacy group in the studio who will tell us what has happened today. And it's just since the beginning of the year, we've recorded all these terrible crashes. Let's stay on this subject a while longer. Government says in the heat of the advocacy from the community, government has been speaking. It can only fix the footbridges by 2019, end of year next year. Why? Because essentially money is a big challenge. So we have to budget it. The finance minister is going to go to parliament, and maybe next year this will be fixed. But they're very certain 12 million cedis has been voted, we understand, to address this within that period I just mentioned. Another part of Accra that we'll be focusing is the Accra-Tema motorway. A lot of you use that stretch, and there are some facts about it that will shock you as well. 336 deaths, over 2,000 accidents recorded in the first 2 months of 2018. These are ridiculously high numbers. Totally unacceptable for a country like Ghana. The N1 highway, I'm sure you've heard a lot about it. It used to be one of the most biggest death traps you can find anywhere in the country. About 60% of the road crashes on the major highways recorded on the N1 highway alone. And the thing about the N1, and that's the contrast, it has footbridges. The question has been whether, one, are the pedestrians using the footbridges? Second, are the footbridges positioned, as far as engineering is concerned and design, are they positioned at the right places for people to access and use? But we've seen a lot of fatalities there as well. So there are some criticisms coming in the wake of all the deaths that we've seen over the last few days. Today, we've heard from Kofi Abochi, lawyer, who says a major part of the problem is that members of parliament, our representatives, he says, are not serving the interests of the people. They're serving themselves, they're serving their parties, and they're not advocating enough. Listen to it.
If Parliament was to play its accountability role and responsibility as expected of Parliament, the Adenta footbridge would not be a problem. And the reason it wouldn't be a problem is that the Minister of Roads and Highways by now would have been in Parliament answering questions, and those question time in Parliament will not be perfunctory. They will be substantive, because somebody may pay a dear price for the failure to perform a ministerial function. So the structure of government, right from the base to the top macro, are designed in such a way to ensure that there are reciprocal checks. Unfortunately, those checks have not been working, and we've just had a situation where we've had strong and effective executives, but the rest have become extension of that executive, and that is.
So is this a real problem? And he talks about members of parliament, but let's stretch it further. Let's say our political leaders, right from the president to the vice, to his ministers, some of whom are not members of parliament, to the MCEs who are political appointees, the DCEs who have the funds to fix the problem, who aren't fixing the problem, to the guys at the Roads and Highways Authority. All these individuals maybe will fall into the bracket that we just heard there from Kofi Abochi. Are they serving us, or they're serving their own interests or political interests? We'll be interrogating that and seeking some answers from those affected, but also those who have the power to fix this problem. Stay with us. This is PM Express. In the studio with me this evening is a man who has been at the forefront of waging this campaign to get the footbridges fixed for the people of Adenta. And I must declare my interest here. I'm a resident of Adenta currently, and so I know the problems that they face. Dr. Samuel Kojo Kofi is in the studio with us. Hello, Doc. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah,
and,
thank you very much for the invitation.
You live in Adenta, but you also work on that stretch because
yes,
you are a lecturer at the University of Ghana.
Yeah.
So this is a stretch that you can't avoid.
Absolutely.
It's not like you live in Adenta and you have to go and work somewhere else. But all your life revolves around this stretch alone. And so I can imagine how this affects you with 192 deaths on that stretch this year alone. Also in the studio with us is a man who is an advocate himself, is an activist, but he's also a member of parliament for South Dai, and he is in the studio with us. Today, members of parliament have been having a conversation about road accidents in the House because several statements have been read on this. The members of parliament finally are getting to grips with the problem, and they're talking about it. As you heard Kofi Abochi say, if it were somewhere else, we'll be seeing some action from the members of parliament. The roads minister should be in parliament already answering questions. Why hasn't he answered these questions yet? I don't know. Roxin Dafiamepo is a lawyer as well, and he is in the studio with us. Hello, Roxin. Thank you very much for joining us.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Great. We'll be joined shortly by the chair of the Roads Committee in Parliament, Transport Committee in Parliament, Ms. Ayepai will join us on the line. We'll also be speaking shortly with also the human rights lawyer, Edmund Foley, Head of Public Law at GIMPA, who has some strong thoughts on this, including legal action by residents who feel that they've been neglected in terms of fixing their roads and other, I guess, everyday basic things that human beings will require to make their lives simple enough. These are human rights matters after all, and Roxanne will have a few thoughts of his own on that once we begin to have that conversation. Roxanne, I want to start with you. What's your reaction to what your colleague Kofi Abochi said there, that this is a problem of a failed parliament, that you guys are simply not representing us enough, and you are either representing your own interest or political interest, and with all that is happening, all the figures that I just put up there, there's no way that is Transport and Roads Minister shouldn't be in Parliament already answering questions, but that hasn't happened.
I first of all, let me seize the opportunity to say good evening to your viewers and particularly my constituents in South Dine. To the extent that Professor Bochi who want to speak to the issue and blame Parliament and perhaps not the executive, and to the extent that he perhaps is not aware of the peculiar or in the primariness of everyday business of Parliament. We do a lot of this. But the question is, we are not empowered to, as it were, exact sanctions to the effect that a person may be removed. Now, we can sanction, but we can only direct. Okay. It is the executive that exercises the power of hiring and firing. What we can do is only to demand that it be done. And I have not been part of the other parliaments, but the 7th parliament that I'm privileged to be part of. And the current speaker that we have is so strong that when the issues engender a lot of debate at plenary, like it happened this morning when the statement on 2 statements, one concerning Ghana and China bilateral relations, and then the second particularly the one concerning the avoidable road accident. The debates were such that it became necessary for a directive to be made. Now, normally the speaker would constitute an ad hoc committee, members drawn from both sides, to go in and look into the matter and come up with a report. When it happens like that, the appropriate ministry is directed to take immediate steps. Now, we cannot be blamed as an institution. We've done our duty. The projects have been awarded. This is a matter for the executive. I said it this morning on your show. I was here this morning, and I asked, this falls in the domain of not highways, but urban roads. What is urban roads doing? You see, if you look at the Accra-Adenta highway, you recall that about 2 or 3 years ago, there was an accident involving somebody related to a big man in this country, around Shashi. That was how come we found money to construct the metal bridge. In fact, 4 in Accra. One was the one, or is the one in front of President Kufuor's place to Accra Mall. Yes. The other one it connects Shashi to, in fact, both sides of Shashi. Then I hear 2 others are located in some areas in Accra. But in addition to these metal ones, there were concrete ones that were integral to the construction of the Tetekwashi main stretch all the way to Peduasi Road. The road has been done and handed over to urban roads. Why were there 6, in fact I count 5, but I understand it's supposed to be 6. Why were these 6 foot bridges abandoned? And so when you look at the foot bridges now, they look like abandoned arches in ancient Acropolis. Yep. The mid ribs have been done, but the stairways that will connect to access the arch to the other side, it's not done. I think the only one that appears to have been done but not to use is the Adenta connecting to the Adenta AP Church. And so you see that Zongo Junction, there is one. Then just after that, when you cross the intersection, you get to Kent City. That's one. Just after Kent City towards Reese Junction. Then immediately you cross the Reese Junction intersection, there's another one before you get to the EP Church one, which has been done. Then after the EP Church one, there's one closer to the Adenta May intersection. People shouldn't die before we are scandalized, before our conscience are.
But you say that, but it's only because people are dying now that the Parliament today talked about it.
No, why? I think particularly, I think the statement that was made on the floor today was as a result of what happened to Honorable Anda.
But that is the problem.
Hold on.
Isn't that the problem?
Hold on. I agree.
So if a deputy minister had not been involved in a crash,
the
members of parliament would not have. I'll come to you, Doc.
I'm only making a point.
I get you. You're just repeating what happened.
Yes.
But that is the problem.
But I want to make the point that it was made in connection with his accident, and then the statistics were churned out countrywide. No, then it engendered debate.
No, but that is the problem. As a citizen, I am offended that our members of parliament will only have a conversation because the deputy minister was involved in the crash over the weekend.
It's not true. It's not true.
No, but that's what you said. I'm just using your own words.
I am only speaking of today.
Yes, today. I'm talking about today. I'm just offended that today.
Would you listen to me?
I'm just telling you my feeling as a constituent of all you lot in parliament. That I am offended that a deputy minister, one of your own colleagues,
if you listen
gets
to me,
into an accident,
if you listen
and
to
then
me,
that
you
becomes
see that I said so in context. I said so in context.
The context
says that a statement was made in respect of avoidable road accidents today.
Yeah, but was triggered by the accident.
Exactly. And I can
count.
The thing.
No, my problem.
I can count as many as 10 other statements. I checked the Hansas today. Yeah. Have been made by other members, including the Honorable Kwame Agboja and all that, the ranking member on Rules and Transport Committee. Other members. I remember even the Honorable Frank Anodompre has had cause to issue several statements on the floor in respect of accidents, road accidents. Particularly when the issue of towing services that had so far been abandoned. And the issue came up. And we are saying that because of the nature of how irresponsible drivers have become, all of us, when we ply the roads, and the fact that some of the causes are traced to broken down vehicles and all that are not quickly taken off the road, it was important that this be done. I remember that debate.
Okay. I want you to give me a second.
Yes.
Because I want to expand the conversation. And on Skype with me right now is Edmund Foley, Head of Public Law at GEMPA. Hello, Edmund. Thank you very much for joining us here on PM Express.
Hello, Evans. Good evening.
Great. Thank you for joining us. Also on the phone with us right now, Edmund is on Skype. On phone with us right now is Samuel Ayepai. He's the Chairman Transport Committee in Parliament. Mr. Ayepai, I'm grateful that you joined us on PM Express.
Yes, thank you, my brother.
Roads and Transport Committee in Parliament. Thank you, sir, for joining us on PM Express. Before I come to you, both Edmund and Honorable Ayepai, Doc, I want to quickly, what's your reaction to what you just heard there?
Yeah, first and foremost, let me express my sincere condolences to the hundreds of Ghanaians who have lost their lives needlessly on the roads in Ghana.
Has any more people been involved in the accident today on the stretch?
Yeah, we have unconfirmed.
Okay.
Because I've been in the office, so I will have to confirm.
Check that, okay.
And then specifically to the families of those who have lost their relatives and loved ones, and to the numerous hundreds across the country and those who are nursing injuries and recovering from the hospital. And also greetings to the entire country and almost everybody who is interested in pushing the authorities in fixing the bridge. Based on the statistics that you quoted, which I feel is grossly understated.
I see. That is 192.
That is 192 deaths. So looking at from January to October, approximately we can say approximately 20 deaths a week, a month. 20
just on that stretch alone.
20 pedestrians die every month averagely 4 deaths a week. That is shameful as a country. Grossly shameful. And unfortunately, the honorable member said that Parliament have been making statements. But I know Parliament also has a responsibility to put the executive arm of government in check.
True.
And Parliament can summon. And there have been instances where people have spoken, have been alleged to have spoken in contempt of Parliament.
True.
And these individuals...
How long have you been campaigning on this?
Oh, I mean, close from the beginning of the year.
And yet...
has the avoidance of that, Parliament has summoned ministers on so many occasions,
on this particular matter, specifically, you have a member of Parliament.
Yes.
Has he done anything, Parliament, on your behalf on this matter?
Yeah, unfortunately, we wrote to him. Adenta Madina,
you have two members of Parliament, yes.
We've written to them, and we haven't received any response. They haven't given us any support for the advocacy, and it is utter contempt, disrespect.
Yeah.
And lackadaisical attitude to the death.
Let's mention the two MPs.
I wish
this is Yababian Samoa
for the record
and
the honourable.
Let me finish. Fact. We have the Adenta MP Yababian Samoa. Fact. The Medina MP is Boniface Abubakar Sadiq. Exactly. Fact. You say you wrote to them.
Yeah. We first wrote. And
I'll come to you for the record. I'll come to you for the record. Let me finish this.
We first wrote our petition addressed to the sector minister responsible for the highway, and these petitions were copied to the chair of the parliamentary committee responsible for the sector, and we copied the members of parliament, the municipal chief executive, and all persons of interest.
So the MP should have been in the know.
Of course. Okay. Up to now, we have not received anything. Do you know the unfortunate thing that happened? Okay. The last Friday, we had a town hall meeting, and simultaneously or coincidentally, when we were having the town hall meeting, these are allegations, but there was a party going on across. We had a town hall meeting at WAS, that is the West Africa Secondary School, and there was a party going on in, right opposite the Kenke House. Okay. That is a SDA junction, right opposite the Kenke House. Yes. I can't confirm, but the allegations, these are mere allegations.
Yeah, it's good to qualify that.
These are mere allegations. I can't confirm. But there have been allegations that these parties were organized by the members of parliament in order to draw the community members instead of the community members being at the town hall meeting, but rather would be at the party where free alcohol and food was served. But nevertheless, I said I cannot prove it. These are mere allegations. But it's total contempt. We've never had any response. I wish the members of parliament or the municipal chief executives would be around and ask them whether they have attended they've attended any of the funerals of those who have lost their lives, or they've even visited any of the relatives, or even gone to the hospital to visit any of the victims who more or less have been maimed.
Let me tell you what happened today. We tried to call all of them. I personally spoke to Yababian Samoa. Yababian Samoa says that he has some other engagements tonight, and so is unable to engage on this subject with us tonight. But he says that he's going to file an urgent question or a question on this matter in Parliament. We also tried to speak to Boniface Abubakar Sadiq. In fact, we did speak to him in Parliament. We'll bring you what he says shortly. But you had a quick point to make, and because I want to go to the line.
For the avoidance of doubt, I heard Yababian Samoa today on CTFM. I heard Boniface. Indeed, he was.
In fact, he spoke on Joy FM as well.
Exactly.
Today.
So today, for the avoidance of doubt, Boniface spoke to your network.
Yes, and we'll hear him shortly.
Yes, on the matter. They've been very busy, but the point I want to make...
They've been very busy on
the matter.
Okay.
On the matter.
Just to clarify.
You see, government is even saying, I know, that government could award contracts overnight. The exigencies of the time are said that government should be able to re-award these projects overnight for them to be done.
Okay.
But government is saying that it's going to take about 3 months to be able to re-award. Okay. We should be addressing those issues.
And we'll come to that because Boniface addresses those concerns. Let me go on the phone lines and bring in Edmund Foley and the chairman of the Road Transport Committee. Mr. Aipa, are you aware of the concerns of the Adentan community when it comes to the Medina Adentan footbridges?
Exactly. Let me say good evening to your listeners this evening. I go to Kansas City Radio for a program almost every week, and so I use that section of the route very often. And indeed, I think I need not wait for maybe a concerned citizen or electorate to report or complain before I got to know the danger that the pedestrians around the Zogo Junction are facing. Actually, it's something that I've seen a long time ago and been discussing with the minister and those concerned how we can get the footbridge fixed. Actually, the contractor left site years ago. He has put on the main span, leaving the step that should be connected to get the bridge complete. And the issue ought to do with the fact that the contractor has left the site, so the contract needs to be terminated and re-awarded after it has been repackaged. So the issue ought to do with money to re-award the contract. But I've spoken to the minister, the sector minister, Honorable Minister for Roads and Highways, and we are both going to have a look at the situation. The Thursday we'll go there to have a look at it, ask the technical men to give us the estimate and look at how we can re-award the contract for the project to be completed. It's just unfortunate.
It's for many families and many of the children who live around that stretch. It's coming too late in the day. Too many lives have been lost. You cannot bring these souls back. Parliament, yourself, the minister should have acted earlier when the community started raising these concerns.
Well, I will not deny that fact. This is something that would have been done in months and not in years. But they say it's better late than none.
No, on this one, it doesn't apply. It's better late than never doesn't apply. When souls have been lost already. I mean, for the people in Adenta, they demand not only that you're going to fix this, but an acceptance on the part of the politicians that you have failed the people.
I don't want us to drag this issue, but if we want to expand it further, if there's no footbridge, there are other things that is normally done to save lives. And one is the traffic lights, and then the
traffic lights aren't working.
It's working. And then the zebra crossing. But if you go to that spot, the Zongo Junction, the way a manner pedestrians also cross the road haphazardly from different locations, just before you can say, Jack, there's somebody crossing over there. People don't want to walk just a few distance, 20, 30 meters to cross the road. Everybody wants to cross. Even we are going to fix the footbridge. And the footbridge will not solve the problem that we are facing at Zongo Junction. We must take the footbridge and do education as well. We have footbridges on the N1 highway, yet people will refuse to use them. And they decide to cross the road at their own convenience point, which will not have them as well. So if, I don't know whether you've gone to the Zongo Junction section and you see how the people cross the road. Some even jump over the wall in the median. So it is a very sad situation. Yes, we are going to look at it and fix the bridge. But personally, I think fixing the bridge alone will not solve the problem. There must be enforcement and education. People must be arrested and punished for crossing the road at the wrong point. The reason why when these drug carriage routes are built, there are walls in the median at certain sections, is to prevent people from crossing from that end.
Yes, but in this case, the median is there, and you haven't provided a means for them to move across. Mr. Ipe, by the way, you've talked about you're going to get in touch with the minister. What has stopped you from hauling the minister before the House by now already?
Well, we have, as Parliament, we have so many ways of drawing ministers' attention and asking ministers to act. One of when they come to budget review, mid-year budget review, bring in their projections, and then we look at whether they have budgets that covered projects and programs that we think need to be looked at. So it's not all the time that you have to hold the minister to Parliament committee. At times, even a question from a member of Parliament, especially those who are the bridge force within their constituency, can also put the parliamentary questions to draw the minister's attention of that. And some of these things have been done, not necessarily on the floor to ask questions, but also to draw the minister's attention, writing memo to the minister, drawing his attention to such a project. There's pressure on our roads in terms of financing the road network.
My final question.
I find it extremely difficult to do comparison and ask what happened previously.
No, I don't want you to go there.
Issues, yes, but we must. You can't. You can't go there if you don't go there. It will be very difficult to justify schools.
So, I mean, I don't want to go there because as of now, all the people want is fix the footbridges.
When you hand over a contract commitment of 17 billion Ghana cedis to a new government, definitely the government will find it difficult to get 17 billion to finance road projects in the country within 4 years. Even if we decide not to award new contracts, but to continue and complete contracts that have already been awarded.
Yeah.
The commitment alone that previous government put the current government is 17 billion.
Yeah, no problem. I want to stick. I want to stick. Ms. I want to stick to the issue about fixing the roads. I mean, the 17 billion was left and etc. These are excuses. I want us to stay with the issues about fixing. You say your committee and the minister will be visiting the area in question on Thursday, correct?
It's a real challenge that we are facing. It's an issue that we must get money to finance the ongoing project. And the bridge we are talking of is one of the ongoing projects that need to finance and get it completed.
I get that.
So,
we've had answers. We've had answers to those concerns already today. But my question to you: you said on Thursday you and the minister and your committee will be visiting the area in question.
Not all the committee members. I discussed it with the minister and said he's getting his technical team, and then I'll join them with the MPs around to go and have a look at the issue and see how best we can do.
Okay, my final question to that is
the project. And
my final question to that is after the visit, then what?
What I'm saying that we are going over the technical men. So the technical men, we are not only going to look at the bridge first. We are going to see how best we can repackage the road, the bridge for re-awarding for it to be completed.
Okay.
And then two, between the time of repackaging, re-awarding, and the constructing of the bridge, what can be done to prevent the accidents that we have seen on that stretch of the road?
Okay.
Enforcement, the MCTD should also come in to assist us to make sure that the zebra crossing, the pedestrian crossing that have been provided will be used by the pedestrians.
Okay.
It's the major issue. Even after fixing the footbridge, if we don't enforce the law to make sure that people use the footbridge, they will still be crossing the roads at their convenience, and the rate factor is always very high.
Okay. Kindly hold the line for me briefly. Let me bring in Edmond Foley, Head of Public Law at GIMPA. Mr. Foley, what's your reaction to all that you've heard? This is a human rights issue, is it not?
Thank you, Evans. Good evening. Pardon me, I'm a bit under the weather. And I also want to express my condolences to the family. Evans, I think the firefighting type of governance in this country is getting worrying. From a human rights perspective, I know tonight the last thing Ghanaians want to hear is theory. But even from that perspective, there is a certain minimum core obligation of every state towards its people. And the fulfillment of that minimum obligation within the right space is not to wait for the thing to happen, but actually have a program, a plan of action to implement certain policies and programs for the benefit of its people. So I'm in total agreement with you, my very good friend, Dr. Kofi, studio, that we need not have this reactionary type of governance that members of parliament and the minister are now going to visit the states. If we work with statistics in this country, we would have known that by the year 2050, more than 2/3 of this country will be living in urban, peri-urban spaces. Medina has started out as peri-urban. Now it has become urban. Medina, Adenta, all those places are becoming part of Accra. Are we working with information on human behavior? Go to University of Ghana, go to all the public universities, even the private universities. There's tons of research that students, academicians have done, and we are accused of just being theoreticians sitting in our offices and doing nothing. This information that informs development. And so I am deeply saddened that this is happening because lives have been lost. A member of parliament had an accident. It's all reactionary. It is not fair to Ghanaians. If you look at the constitution, which parliament has to work with, Article 1 says that sovereignty resides in the people of Ghana, whose welfare the powers of government have to be exercised. But it is very unfortunate that often it appears our whole governance system is so partisan. And just heard my dear friend Mr. Aipa making references to what has happened. We don't need that. The nature of governance has changed, and I wish that our parliament and our executive and our judiciary even would buy into this new idea.
Yeah, and Mr. Foley, you just touched on the judiciary. You just touched on the judiciary, and I want to ask you this question because the people of Adenta have been fighting, waging this battle for a long time. Is it time for somebody in that constituency, a citizen, to drag the authorities to court? Will the court even allow that? Does a legal system we run allow that somebody to take legal action on this matter?
Indeed, yes.
The judiciary must allow. And I would honestly encourage colleagues in practice, active practice, and the citizenry to take it up. Because even for the lawyers, they know judicial activism is what has changed many societies. There's a certain order called a structural interdict. A structural interdict is more like a policy judgment from a court which directs the executive or which body is affected to implement a program and come back to the court with a report. The closest we have had, I think, is the AMA case involving the pan latrine carriers issue that Sophia Kuku decided some time back. But it is possible to get this judicial activism. And which angle you specifically target? Look, if you look at the directive principles of state policy, which our courts have said can't try court, they are justiciable. Government has to actually achieve certain economic objectives. So I would ask the communities to bring their case within this year. And honestly, it's up to our judges to be also innovative with the law and break new barriers. Otherwise, if we always look at things within box, we'll never get any remedy.
Yeah. You see on the line for me again. Doc, your reaction to what you heard there, both from the chairman of the committee and from Mr. Foley.
Yeah. Foley is a very, very good friend, and he's a colleague, also a lecturer. I'll first respond to what the chairman of the committee said. I think he used some unfortunate words. For example, saying that the pedestrians cross the road haphazardly at their own convenience, and then they must be arrested. I don't know whether the chair of the committee has ever crossed the road before, because they drive their V8, they have the police, they have the bodyguards, and then when they are driving on the road, they use the siren and clear almost everybody on the road. But these are poor people who will have to commute and go and sell and make a living. And by the way, how does he expect them to cross the road?
By crossing the middle and
scale over the wall in the middle of the road. So I think it's unfortunate. And this is a total failure of government in Ghana. I mean, the issue of the Adenta Bridge, tells you 100% that
What is
our
wrong with Ghana?
politicians
Yeah.
are selfish, they are greedy. I didn't want to bring in the issue of Honorable Anda. When Honorable Anda had an accident, they used the Air Force helicopter to ferry him to a hospital.
First, they got an ambulance there on time to move him to a temporary facility
For stabilization.
And then they called in the helicopter, a military helicopter, that came in, and then they ferried him in the ambulance to the helicopter, carried onto a stretcher, into the helicopter, flown to 37 Military Hospital, and got a fantastic care.
That is
now, the irony, 24 hours later, there was another accident there. 8 people or 7 people died. 3-year-old boy in critical condition needs ambulance to be ferried to Accra, 37-year-old Kolebu. It took 24 hours. In fact, it took our advocacy to get the director of the National Ambulance Service to personally intervene to get the boy an ambulance. It was only yesterday, I think, that the boy got an ambulance to Kolebu Teaching Hospital. That is Ghana for you.
Yeah, I agree with you. The governance in Ghana has become animal farm, where the politicians and elitists live on the blood of the people. So you find a deputy minister being ferried in an helicopter, and then you find an area, a part of Accra, where a car knocks down a pedestrian, and then we will have to rush the pedestrian into a taxi. You send, you drive, we take this pedestrian to the hospital. There will be no beds, there will be no trauma surgeon, there will be no bed. The pedestrian, the family will have to roam the whole entire hospital trying to get a card so that the pedestrian. So I think, what I think is happening is it's a clear failure of governance.
Yeah,
right from the top to the bottom. It's a clear failure of governance where the resources of the state are being used for the selfishness. I mean, the resources of the state are being used selfishly for the elitists and politicians of the country.
Now,
I mean, commonsensically, 20 people lose their life every week. Does it take a parliamentary committee, a ministerial visit to the bridge, and does it take re-awarding? Are there no emergency procedures in the Procurement Act?
Well, I wanted to listen to that question. The question you just raised. I wanted to listen to Boniface Abubakar Sadiq, who is the MP for Medina, because he says some emergency measures has been triggered to get funding to fix the road. Once you hear that, we'll take a break. And I'll brief you on how much has been devoted and when the project will be complete. Let's listen to Boniface Sadiq. He's the MP for Medina.
I had the opportunity to be in cabinet. We raised the matter. The president, in his own wisdom, has given approval for the completion of the footbridges. But you know, it was being constructed by a Chinese company.
Where the president has given approval means what exactly? Because earlier there was a complaint that funds were unavailable. The contractor
what you should know is that the whole bridge is about 10 years old now. Under normal circumstances, the major part of the whole bridge has been done. What is left is just the arms of the bridge, where you climb and where you descend. That's the only places that were left. But that is the footbridge itself.
So that the president's approval is that what exactly?
Which means that the president has authorized the Minister for Finance to assist the Minister for Roads and Highways to ensure that those bridges are completed. But the fact that the approval has been given doesn't mean that the project will be completed immediately. There are systems, procurement processes have to go through before you can get it done. And my follow-up with the minister, in fact, he gave me the assurance.
The finance minister.
So that's the update there. He says cabinet has given approval. Now we got some further details just to fill in some of the blank spaces there that you may have noticed. How much? We heard from a member of the Ghana Highways Authority Board, Senyor Hosi, today, who says an amount of 12 million cedis has just been approved for this. And we also heard from the director of bridges at the highway, who says that amount has been devoted. But he repeats what Abubakar Sadiq just says. Procurement processes have just been started, and they're using the emergency sole source approach, and they have identified somebody who's going to do this, but this is going to take 1 year. And so they are expecting that by the end of the year, all the 6-foot bridges will be complete. However, we also heard from Senyor Hosi insisting that they're not going to wait until the end of the year to finish all. They're going to focus on at least 2 of the bridges in the most critical areas. That will be done in the next 4 months or so, very quickly, with the 12 million has been devoted, and then the rest will be done all the way to the end of 2019. We'll get reactions to this, and I see Roxy making a lot of notes on this, and I also get reactions from Dr. Kofi and my guests on the line as well. One return from the short break. Stay with us. It's all live on PM Express. Just before we went for the break, we had an update on what government is about to do with the footbridges. Then there's an emergency approval that has been given, but it's going to take a year to complete 12 million cedis. Roxanne Dafiamepo, your reaction to that?
Yes, I am not happy about the fact that even though we are the exigencies of the times demand that we do this under emergency situations, this emergency is going to take about a year to do. I think the president has sufficient powers to direct the Metropolitan Director of Urban Roads that move with your team of engineers and go and complete the staircase to these bridges in question. In fact, all the arches have been done.
Yeah, it's true.
It is the walkways that have started. In fact, in some sections, the walkways have been done.
Yeah.
So I think, I'm a layman in respect of civil engineering, but I know that concrete can cure within a week. And these concrete are not meant for heavy-duty machinery. They're meant for human. They are human walkways. So they are not concrete that when you need a lot of time and a lot of huge iron rods to construct. I am not saying we should do anything shortly so that tomorrow when it collapses, we have other issues. But the designs are already there. Indeed, my information is that the contractor, the original contractor, is presently working on another road project on the Kumasi Highway. Why don't we call him and say that take the 12 million and because of the situations around, go and complete the bridge? We could do that.
Yeah.
But it appears that even though we think we are under emergency, we still want to do things, use the status quo approach to handle this matter. And this is what we do, and then we attract the wrath of the people.
Exactly.
You see, and they are calling me on a poor MP to do bridges. I don't do bridges.
Which is true.
Indeed, some of us are advocating that we should go the Kenyan way, where the Constituency Development Fund, they have an act that gives funding to MPs. So the MPs now become agents of development. I'm sure that if Abuabia someone has let's say 10 million voted for him for 4 years, and he doesn't do this, then he will suffer the consequences. But we are, look, our hands are tied behind our back, and yet we are being called upon to go into a boxing ring and box.
Yeah.
We don't have the funding. We don't have anything. The advocacy.
Briefly, ask again, what do you want to see done as a member of parliament?
What I want done is that based on the directive principles of state policy, Article 34(1), which is to the effect that the directive principles of state policy shall guide all citizens, parliament, the president, the judiciary, council of state, cabinet, political parties, and other bodies and persons in applying, all right, or interpreting the constitution or any other law or its implementation of any policy decisions for the establishment of a free and just society. And we are saying that whatever procurement laws there are, we should anchor the interpretation on the directive principles of state policy and declare a state of emergency concerning the status of these bridges. They are not really bridges. They are walkways, overhead walkways.
And fix it now.
And fix it now within 1 month.
1 month.
It should be done.
Doc, I'll come to you shortly. Do we have Edmund Foley on the line? Mr. Foley, very briefly, this is where we are. What do you want to see done in a few seconds? What is your, as a lawyer, a human rights advocate?
If I may make a small point before.
Yes,
Foley.
in 10
fact,
seconds.
on Friday, MP for Boli,
I'll come to you.
MP for Boli asked the question, asked the Minister for Roads what steps he is taking to avoid the numerous accidents on N1.
Road.
And he provided his answers.
Okay.
You see, in a written form. I could recite that, but things must be moved away from the normal ways of doing things.
Edmund Foley, what do you want to see done now?
Quickly, thank you, Evans. Immediately, yes, there are some efforts that have been put in place to rectify this. But what I want Parliament to do from a human rights angle is to help us all to have a certain culture of implementing the law. I agree with the Honorable Member of Parliament, Dr. McCall, saying that it is not his responsibility to build roads. Somebody draws salary every month to ensure that this
just because of, just for the sake of time, just for the sake of time, on this addenda matter, in 10 words, what do you want to see?
Please empower the engineers on the ground, give them the free hand and the spending ability to ensure that this is done.
Okay. Final word to you.
My final word is the resident, via the town hall meeting, we have decided to go on a peace walk on the 12th of November. So we are calling upon all Ghanaians, all residents of Adenta, all residents of Accra to come over. We are congregating first at WAS Secondary School and ending the peace at WAS Secondary School.
If you don't know where that is, just get to Adenta Barrier.
Yeah, at WAS, and we'll be ending past the Madina Zongo Junction at Firestone. We've legally and constitutionally notified the police, so we don't expect any deliberate impediment on our part. We can fix the traffic light. The traffic light at the SDA Junction the traffic light have been down for months. Yeah. So the cars speed down. We need speed ramps. We need zebra crossing. I mean, these are not things that...
And we need police officers.
We need police officers, and these are not so difficult to be done. These bridges can be fixed in 4
All the things you said can be done tomorrow morning.
The speed ramps, the traffic lights, the police officers, the zebra crossing, the bridges can be fixed 4 weeks. We know that, I think the minister, the chair of parliament, and the politicians are being theatrical. They are just comedians in the sense that they told us that in October,
he has the final word.
The fact we heard in the news that the bridges, the traffic lights, and the rest will be fixed in October. We are in November. Now they are saying next year. 20 people lose their lives every week.
Meanwhile, somebody is taking money to maintain the traffic lights.
It's comical.
Doc, I'm grateful that you joined us, but this is what we need to do to our politicians to shake them into action. That's what we'll do. No, you can't have a final word. I'm sorry. Roxanne Dafiamekbo is a member of parliament who joined us on the show. But I'm grateful that you joined us. I mean, as citizens, we need to do that to you. In fact, we can sack you. And so the power is ours. Exactly. So we are powerful people. And don't mess with us. So join us again tomorrow for another edition of PMX. We hope this Friday, after the protest, we'll see some real action. Enjoy your evening.